Ever feel like you're on a hamster wheel? Deadlines, to-do lists, never-ending information. How are we supposed to find any joy, let alone peace, in all this chaos?
It's a question for the ages, really.
Right. But luckily, some folks way back when had some surprisingly practical ideas.
You're talking about the Stoics.
You nailed it. We're diving into Stoicism today. But not just the ancient history lesson, we're talking about how these 2,000-year-old principles can help us navigate the 21st century with, a little more joy in our back pocket.
And for anyone who wants clear, actionable insights without all the jargon, this deep dive is for you.
Exactly. We're all about efficiency here. So let's get right to it. When we say Stoicism, what's the first thing that pops into your mind? Because, honestly, I used to picture toga-clad folks on a mountaintop, totally unfazed by anything.
Definitely a common image, but a bit of a misconception. It's not about suppressing emotions entirely.
So not about being an emotionless robot, then.
Right. Think of it more like a framework for understanding your emotions, why you feel them, and then, crucially, how you respond.
So it's less about being a robot and more about being, like, the CEO of your own emotional world.
Exactly. And a big part of that CEO role is this idea of living in agreement with nature, a core Stoic principle.
Okay, before we go full-on tree-hugging here.
No worries. When the Stoics talked about nature, they meant the nature of everything. The universe, our minds, how everything connects.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
They believed that true joy, what they called eudaimonia, meaning a flourishing life, came from understanding these natural laws and aligning your actions with them.
Okay, I'm seeing how that's relevant to us, even if we're not ancient philosophers. Understanding the way things are, accepting what we can't control, feels like a superpower in this crazy world.
Right. It's like decluttering for your mind. By recognizing that some things are simply beyond our control, we can stop wasting energy stressing over them and instead focus on what we can influence: our thoughts, our reactions, our choices.
Talk about a productivity hack for life. Reminds me of that quote by Epictetus. There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will.
Nailed it.
But before we get too carried away, we have to acknowledge the Stoics weren't perfect. Some of their ideas, well,
I haven't aged so well.
yeah, the whole universe is a living organism with Zeus at the helm thing. Good vibes, but science has painted a different picture since then.
To put it mildly.
And let's not forget, many Stoics were wealthy slave owners. Definitely clashes with our values today.
For sure.
So, just to be crystal clear, we're not about blindly following ancient dogma. We're taking a what works now approach, extracting that timeless wisdom of Stoicism and leaving behind the bits that belong in a history book.
Could have said it better myself. It's like they say, right, take what you need, leave the rest.
And speaking of taking what we need, let's talk about one of the most powerful Stoic tools, the dichotomy of control.
Still relevant today, as it was centuries ago.
And luckily for us, it's pretty simple to grasp. It boiled down to this.
Yeah.
Recognizing the difference between what we can and can't control.
Sounds simple, but it can really change the game when it comes to managing stress, making decisions, finding that inner peace.
Okay, so for our listeners who are ready to put this into practice, what kind of things did the Stoics say were in our control?
Our internal world, our thoughts, judgments, reactions to whatever life throws at us. Ultimately, it's about recognizing we always have a choice in how we respond.
I'm starting to see how this works. But if our internal responses are in the control category, what about all that external stuff? The traffic jams, deadlines, other people's opinions, all that jazz that tends to hijack our emotions.
Ah, yes. That's where it gets interesting. The Stoics would say that those external events, while they impact us, they are ultimately outside our control.
Which is probably a good thing when you think about it.
Right. Imagine trying to control everything and everyone around us.
Talk about exhausting. But the beauty of this dichotomy of control is that it's not about being passive or giving up. It's about putting our energy where it matters most.
Exactly. By accepting what we can't control, we free ourselves up to focus on what we can, our actions, responses, mindset.
Which brings us to another Stoic gem, the art of reappraising impressions.
Sounds a bit like trying on shoes or something, but it's way deeper than that.
Right. So what is it exactly?
It's like this. Our brains are wired to react to situations almost instantly. Survival mechanism, right? But those initial reactions, not always accurate or helpful, especially in the modern world.
So it's like our brain hits the panic button before we even have a chance to assess the situation.
Exactly. Reappraising impressions is like hitting the pause button on those automatic thoughts, choosing a more conscious, reasoned response.
So instead of letting our emotions run the show, we step in and say, hold on, is this thought helpful? Is this even how I want to feel about this?
Exactly. We have the power to choose how we interpret events, what meaning we assign to them. It's not about denying our emotions, but choosing our response.
This is incredibly empowering. It reminds me of this one time I was prepping for a big presentation at work. I was a nervous wreck. Palms sweating, heart racing.
Presentations will do that.
Totally.
Yeah.
But then I remember something I had read about Stoicism, about focusing on what you can control. And I realized I couldn't control if everyone was going to love my presentation, but I could control how prepared I was.
So you shifted your focus from the things you couldn't control to what you could.
And it totally worked. The nervousness didn't disappear, but it didn't control me either. I actually enjoyed putting the presentation together because I was focused on just doing my best.
That's Stoicism in action. By focusing on your effort, your preparation, you found a sense of calm and even enjoyment in a situation that's usually stressful.
And the presentation was a hit. But honestly, the bigger win was discovering a tool to manage those pre-presentation jitters, which, let's be real, they can pop up anywhere in life.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of these Stoic principles. They're not just philosophical concepts. They're practical tools for navigating the ups and downs of life.
Speaking of practical tools, let's talk about how to actually cultivate that sense of deep, lasting joy the Stoics were all about. And a good place to start might be with this concept that sounds kind of counterintuitive, the Stoic idea of wanting what you have.
It's a powerful antidote to what we call these days the hedonic treadmill.
Okay, love the buzzword. But for our listeners who are new to the happiness lexicon, what is that exactly?
Basically, it's that human tendency to always be striving for the next big thing, the next promotion, vacation, gadget, thinking that's what will finally make us happy.
I think we've all been there.
Right. But the catch is, even when we get those things, the satisfaction, it's fleeting. We adapt to the new normal, and then we're wanting something else. It's like this cycle of desire that never really leads to lasting fulfillment.
Running on that treadmill, always chasing, but never really reaching the finish line.
Exactly. And that's where this Stoic concept of wanting what you have comes in. It's about shifting that focus to appreciating what we already have instead of always chasing after more.
Finding the joy in the present moment, the simple pleasures, rather than some distant future or achievement.
Right. And this is huge, especially today in our hyper-consumerist culture, right? We're bombarded with messages that we need more to be happy.
Social media is like a highlight reel on steroids, just fueling that FOMO.
Totally.
Yeah.
But the Stoics remind us that contentment, true contentment, comes not from accumulating more, but from appreciating the good that's already present. Our relationships, health, talents, even the fact that we woke up this morning.
Hitting the reset button on our perspective. Wanting what you have feels like a master key to Stoic joy. But our Wikiversity source mentions a few other, let's call them hacks, for boosting resilience and well-being. Negative visualization really stood out to me.
Oh yeah, negative visualization. It sounds kind of intimidating, but it's surprisingly effective.
It's not about being pessimistic or dwelling on the negative, right?
Not at all. It's more about using our imagination to appreciate what we have by considering what life would be like without it.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
For example, imagine for a moment what it would be like to lose something or someone you love.
Yeah, okay. Getting a little heavy there, but I get it.
The idea is, by vividly imagining the absence of something precious, we gain a newfound appreciation for its presence, right now, in this moment.
Like that saying, you don't know what you got till it's gone. But the Stoics are saying you don't have to wait till it's gone.
Exactly. And this can go beyond material things or relationships, too. We can use it to appreciate our health, abilities, even having food on the table and a roof overhead.
Mental gratitude practice on steroids. So, wanting what we have.
Yeah.
Negative visualization. Any other Stoic life hacks we should know about?
Well, they were also big on, how we approach social interactions, especially dealing with insults or criticism.
Because, let's be real, other people can be challenging, even when we're mastering our own minds.
You said it. But the Stoics, they had this way of navigating those dynamics. It wasn't about, winning an argument or delivering the perfect comeback. It was about protecting your own inner peace.
Less about reading them for filth, and more about rising above.
Exactly. So, say someone insults you. A Stoic might respond with some self-deprecating humor, or even acknowledge that maybe the person has a point, even if they weren't exactly, diplomatic about it.
Choosing not to let their words or actions control your emotional state. You're in the driver's seat, right?
Right. It's not about being passive or letting people walk all over you. It's about recognizing that you always have a choice in how you respond.
And sometimes the most powerful response is no response. Recognizing that true strength comes from within, from our ability to choose regardless of the circumstances.
Yeah.
Which, let's face it, is a superpower we could all use a little more of these days.
100%. So as we wrap up our Stoic Joy deep dive, the key takeaway is this ancient philosophy. It's got some seriously timeless wisdom that can help us navigate this crazy modern life.
It's about realizing happiness isn't some destination. It's a choice we can make every single day. By focusing on what we can control, practicing gratitude for what we have, and choosing our responses thoughtfully. And on that note, dear listener, we'll leave you with this. If life ends at death, how does that change how you want to live today?
Powerful thought, right? This journey is precious and every day. It's a chance to live by our values, cultivate joy in the moment, and make choices that truly matter.
We hope this deep dive has given you some tools to do just that. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deeper into the amazing world of ideas.